Now, as our older brother would be coming to the house in an old truck vehicle, old humped up Ford, it was a 1940 something. You know, the starter wasn't working half the time. We had to push him to get it started, and the thing, you smell the gas when he running because them thing carburetors always overflowed on the old vehicles. But he found a way to get it cranked because we had to push him. And he had about two of them. And a bicycle, two bicycles. Because when the vehicle would start, he would take and ride his bicycle all the way to the store where he worked in. He always kept him a job. Well, we raised chickens and hogs, but we never did go to school because we hoped with our mother. And at the end of the day, those old fellows would come by selling all of this junk and then selling, they have peaches and stuff like this. They sold my mother can a lot. And they sold my mother everything. The white people were making a living on it. And some of the things, I'll tell you the truth, was really quality stuff, the fruit. And some of them, by my mother being behind so much, they come by them spoiled peaches, be spoiling on them, and they can't keep them. They were selling these things. The men that had gone to the river and caught fish, they would come by and they would sell my mother these fish. This was one of the blessings that we had. Everything was not a curse to us. I got to tell the truth. So my mother canned up a whole lot of this fruit, peaches and stuff, and then we picked berries, and my mother canned the berries. I mean, this we was coming together, and then when we was going to school a little bit more, my mother would cook this bread, hot water cornbread, put the butter in them. Children used to come home with her and rush home. Mama would just sit them down and feed them. My brothers would bring his friends there. She would sit them down and give them some cornbread. Most of we would have was just cornbread. That's all we would have. And some butter. And them young men would eat that stuff as if it was something from McDonald's. This was They was grateful in this being a meal. I watched both sides of the aisle. They wasn't thinking about no drugs. They wasn't thinking about disrespecting other people. If they had food to eat, whether it be cornbread with butter between it, and my mother would have went out there, we had gone out in the back and drawn water from the well. And they would sit up there with a dipper and dip them some water and drink that water out that bucket. They was thankful for the grace of God that he had delivered this to us and them. And they would have a good time. There was no whiskey. There was no beer. There was nothing of alcohol in our house that we did to enhance our thoughts. No drugs. We praised God, said our prayer before we ate. Never thought about robbing and stealing. We sit among each other and give thanks to God. This is the part that people don't sit down and talk about, where everything was good, where families sit among families, and we live the life of the pleasures of earth and the richness of earth, because my mother raised a garden, and we had something to thank God about. This is the part of the United States of America that we never talk about. It was the Spirit of God moving up on us and blessing us, and where we can see and count His blessings. We don't talk about these things. We don't reverence these things. Well, the more knowledge they taught us, the more we learn. It's a sad part in the history of the United States of America that we have been driven to another part, a dark side. The dark side is the way of knowledge, the way of educational system. It was a part of the United States designed by the rich man. He alleged that it was designed to enhance us, but it have destroyed an innocent people in its due process. Now what he done? He have torn this earth down. Now he's lying on every person, every nation in the earth since they fought. And as a child, I saw it unfolding itself before my eyes. As it changed the dynamic of one part unto the dynasty of another part, and that dynasty have destroyed the whole earth. It have brought it into a place of no return until it takes a God of the earth. In order to gain salvation, he got to tear it down and tear the whole earth down, the infrastructure of the whole earth, and build it up from its foundation again. This is a sad story in the history of man, and the infiltrator that caused this is still running around talking about a terrorist. Where do he get this lie from? He talked about homegrown terrorists here and the terrorists of abroad, but I saw it with my own eyes as I grew from a child up how things was and how we live on nothing but our faith. We didn't worry about day by day because every day came and gone. God have failed us. He has kept me even upon this day, and I am 64 years old. Well, how could he do this? How could he see these things? And I am 64 years old. But today, as I live around my house, I am in fear of the people that they have placed around me to threaten and take my life, but not to keep me from telling my story. If the white man and the rich men of this earth could sit in their synagogues and speak lies of deception and fabricate lies and tell their story, why can't I? But they want to cut me off. They want to shorten my days. They don't want me to live because I'm not of them. Because I know where I'm coming from. I came from. Why they want to impose upon me their will and give me the poison pills of deception to make me believe in a lie, and I didn't come up on the side they talking about. I know where I came from. Well, as I look at Pine Bluff being torn down with hopeless eyes, and my remembrance go back. Pine Bluff is a dead city. It's done died because of the physicality of the change that this man placed upon the city. Not by the poor people, but by the rich man. He changed the dynamics.